Did you know Agatha Christie wrote one of the best-selling books of all time with one of the most racist titles ever? Or that her final 2 books were actually written 30 years before her death? Or that there's a movie of one of her works that they've been waiting to make for 70 years? But we'll get to all that. You want to know about Agatha Christie? Here are 27 things that will really dispel the mystery. There are no book spoilers here, at least not without warning. So how did Agatha Christie get her start? Way back in 1920. Well, her entire career was kicked off by a bet. She actually had no ambition to be a writer, but she would read and discuss detective novels with her sister, Madge. At one point, Agatha thought she might try to write one, just for fun. But Madge said, "I don't think you could do it. They're very difficult to do. I bet you couldn't." And that bet turned out to be a pivotal moment for Christie, who was determined to prove her sister wrong. 66 detective novels, 14 short stories, and over 20 plays later, yeah, I think she won that bet. And while you might think that her detective novels involved guns and explosions, she chose something a little cleaner. 41 out of 66 of her detective novels involved poison. And they not only involved it, but they were incredibly accurate to how these poisons actually worked. So accurate that one woman was even able to recognize thallium poisoning in an infant and save his life just from reading a Christie novel. So how did Christie know so much about poison? World War I. She was a nurse during the war, but she actually spent most of her time working in the pharmacy. She even passed her apothecary exam. There was one mystery in her life, though, that was never solved. In 1926, her first husband, Archie Christie, asked her for a divorce. Her mother died, and Agatha left home and disappeared. This disappearance was a huge deal. She was famous by now, but not only that, they found her abandoned car with no sign of her. A giant search ensued. 1,000 police, volunteers, bloodhounds, rescue divers. They found her 11 days later at a spa, completely fine. Except she didn't recognize her husband. The most likely explanation is that she had a nervous breakdown and suffered memory loss after her car crash, but people also accused her of a publicity stunt or setting Archie up for murder, and we'll never know exactly what happened in those 11 days because Christie herself never remembered. Lightning round time. Here are the world's 5 favorite Christie books as voted on by 15,000 fans. At 5th, we got ABC Murders, which involves a killer assassinating people in alphabetical order, beginning with Alice Asher, killed in Andover. At number 4, Death on the Nile, which takes place on a cruise when Detective Poirot is pulled into the case when a woman is killed on her honeymoon. At 3 sits one of the best whodunits ever, the murder of Roger Ackroyd. Not only is it the best whodunit, it also contains one of the best plot twists in crime writing history. At 2, you got Murder on the Orient Express, a locked room mystery on a luxury train stuck in a snowbank. Has all the makings of a classic Christmas read. And number 1 is not only the book that Christie said was the most difficult to write, but it is also one of the best-selling books of all time. And then there were none. It's got 10 guests on an island, and they're being killed off one by one, according to lines of a nursery rhyme. Now, 4 out of 5 of these books feature Christie's most beloved character, Hercule Poirot. He is a short Belgian detective with a mustache who is very neat and particular. My favorite description of him is, "I believe a speck of dust would have caused him more pain than a bullet wound." This was set in The Mysterious Affair of Styles, which is not only Christie's first book, you know, the one she made because of a bet, but it is also the novel where this man, Poirot, is first introduced. So she was basically stuck with him right from the beginning. He ended up in 33 novels and over 50 short stories. This man was such a good character that sometimes he was too good. Like when Christie wrote her first play, Black Coffee, it starred Poirot. She quickly realized that he stole too much attention from the plot, so that was the first and last time that she ever wrote him into a play. And if you didn't know that Christie was just as famous for her plays as her novels, well, I didn't either. In fact, she is one of the most successful female playwrights in the world. She actually created the world's longest running play ever. It has been performed so much, they even installed this ticker in the theater counting performances. It's over 29,000 right now. That means over 10 million people have seen it. It's been on its theater run since 1952, with no breaks. Well, other than COVID, but everything was closed in COVID. It is The Mousetrap, a whodunit murder mystery. And this play only exists because of the Queen. Queen Mary, for her 80th birthday, requested a play from one of her favorite writers, Agatha Christie. Christie wrote a 20-minute radio sketch that eventually grew into a full play. And if you don't live in the UK and you maybe want to see this play, perhaps in a movie version, well, that would be impossible. In 1956, the movie rights were sold, but on one condition. A film could only be made 6 months after the end of the original theatrical run. 70 years later, they're still waiting for that to happen. But Poirot is not the only character of Christie's to gain fame, and it's very rare for a mystery author to create two iconic detectives. But of course, Dame Christie, yeah, the Queen made her a dame in 1971. Dame Christie could, and did, create Miss Marple. She appeared in less stories than Poirot, but she was just as beloved, probably because she was this sweet, unassuming old spinster. Now, I bet you're wondering if they ever starred in the same novel, an epic crossover collaboration just as big as Deadpool Wolverine? No. The answer is no. As Christie said, Hercule Poirot, a complete egoist, would not like being taught his business or having suggestions made to him by an elderly spinster lady. Hercule Poirot, a professional sleuth, would not be at home at all in Miss Marple's world. Now, people would have been happy if Christie just wrote Poirot and Miss Marple novels forever, but she was not. So she created a secret pen name, Mary Westmacott. Westmacott published 6 novels and survived in secret for nearly 20 years. These books are often classified as romances, but her daughter Rosalind says they would be better described as bittersweet stories about love. And Christie wrote one of her favorite books under this name, Absent in Spring. This book was the book that she said she always wanted to write. It was so clear to her that it only took her 3 days to pen. But if you thought writing was the only thing Agatha Christie did, well, you would be wrong. She was not only a writer, but she was one of the first Britons to surf standing up. But surfing wasn't her only hobby. When she got married a second time, it was to an archaeologist, Max Mallowan, and she quickly developed a love for it. She spent 18 years traveling with him to excavation sites in the Middle East, sometimes for 4 months at a time. It inspired books like Death on the Nile and Murder in Mesopotamia. She wrote, but she also funded the trips and cleaned and photographed artifacts. And we talked a lot about Christie's first novel, but what about her last? Her last 2 novels featured Poirot's Last Case and Miss Marple's Last Case, in that order. But, and this might be the best fact of all, even though these books came out in 1975 and 1976, she wrote them back in the 1940s. During World War II, Christie was afraid that she might die in the raids. So to take care of her family, Rosalind and Max, she gifted them these 2 books, just in case. They stayed in a vault for over 30 years before finally being released. By the time they came out, Poirot was so well loved that they published an obituary for him in the New York Times. On the front page, 2 billion books and 100 years later, Agatha Christie is the second best-selling author of all time, only to be beaten by Shakespeare. Everyone still knows her name. That's because her books hold up incredibly well. She creates page-turners with great suspense and exciting twists. Not everything is perfect, of course. Until 1985, the UK title of And Then There Were None was incredibly racist. And in 2023, HarperCollins removed racist and anti-Semitic language from her books. Things like a judge's Indian temper, and replacing native with locals, and removing some references to ethnicities. But still, people don't call her Queen of Crime for nothing.